I'm Carly.
What is this dude in iCarly? We don't give a shit, Alex. We've never watched it in our lives.
I'm sorry. Too much iCarly before recording. It catches up to you.
You're such a Dan getting the Van Schneider enabler.
Hello and welcome to Chat Cave Podcast, where we break down and review a movie while, overall just trying to have a bit of fun along the way. I'm your host, Stroking Thomas Hughes.
I'm Geeky Bear, aka Alex.
And I'm depressed because there's no Megan Fox's fucking films. The only reason why I like these films.
And I'm gonna cause chaos.
Well, you were born in chaos.
Anyway, today we're discussing Transformers Dark of the Moon, not Dark Side of the Moon, as I incorrectly stated last week. Kind of still sounds weird, Dark of the Moon.
I know, Dark Side of the Moon sounds a lot better.
As a Dark Side rolls off the tongue better, but Dark of the Moon just feels
I kept
clunky.
saying Dark Side of the Moon the entire film.
But yeah, it's just called Dark of the Moon. Oh well.
Maybe DC got a bit annoyed with Dark Side.
No, it's just because they weirdly decided to incorrectly name something. Anyway, it was released in 2011, and just like its predecessor, it was obviously released 2 years after the previous installment. The movie this time focused on the Autobots finding an old ally on the dark side of the moon, and new enemies. Simple as explosions,
New Autobots,
slow motion, no Megan Fox, and no dogs for Alex. The movie was there's not your dogs that you like.
Stop Mojo.
The movie was once again directed by Michael Bay, if you could not tell from the visuals in the movie, who directed The Island and The Rock. And not Dwayne The Rock Johnson, just the movie The Rock.
Before Dwayne became a thing.
No. Well after that. Yeah. Okay, let's just get straight into this then, shall we? One thing obviously I pointed out in watching it is, not just watching it, I mean like when we did the other ones as well. For me, this original trilogy, as I'm dubbing it, because it's a trilogy, it was the one where it was like very consistent. Obviously they changed the cast in this one, with both Megan and Fox out, and obviously Rose Huntington Whitley, I believe his name was, something along that line. Google it. Her obviously replacing Fox this time around because of certain comments made on set. But I still think the overall original trilogy is consistent. It's just anything after this is where it starts going down. So for me, it's the same feels I've had in the last two. Obviously, there's a lot more dodgy human CGI in this one. Obviously, it's not bad CGI, it's just noticeable, which kind of makes it bad, as you stated, Hayden. Because obviously it's more human-based. Obviously, the robots look fantastic once again. It's just obviously there's, as I said, the JFK scene at the start when they clearly CGI JFK's face onto somebody. That looked really noticeable and bad. Obviously, every time Sam just flies in the air in slow motion, you can always tell it's not Sam. It's always CGI person. That looked a bit iffy. But other than those aspects, again, I think it's a good film. There's obviously a lot more carnage in this one. Because I think, is the last battle like the most like destruction we've had in this series so far in terms of buildings, people dying? Because people die in this movie.
Yeah.
We've yet to see really people die in the other ones. You see them get injured or get knocked aside, but we've never seen anyone like
vaporized.
But as Alex states, they literally get vaporized, which you never saw in any of the other ones, which is kind of dark. No pun intended, because it's a movie that has Dark of the Moon in the name.
Kill me.
But yeah, I do enjoy this entry. It is the last fun entry for a while, sadly. Anyone want to chime in?
I so the one thing that I found with this film though is that I think it goes on a little bit too long.
And say up to this point it is the longest by 10 minutes, I believe.
That extra 10 minutes.
Wait till next week. It's an extra 10 minutes on top of this 10 minutes.
It does feel like it kind of drags on a little bit, but
that was one of the major criticisms by critics, was it was too long.
But other than that, I think it was alright. It's not perfect. There are way better like Transformer films out there.
There are also way better films as well.
And also with the no Megan Fox, it does impact the actual was actually caring for this new character, the new love interest, because that's all she is in this. She's just a love interest who always gets
Damsel in distress,
left
basically.
behind, and yeah, she's literally the damn interest, and it kind of ruins it because obviously Michaela, who Megan Fox played, the whole point of her character was she always she wasn't
Useful.
just a damsel in distress. She actually does stuff. She was like a mechanic. She tortured that one Decepticon and then made him his
Really?
bitch.
And now he's
Yeah,
always fixed.
so it always there's a lot more depth to her character, whereas this one's a bit more one dimensional. And so the fact that pretty much she's a random character that's put in straight away, it kind of just ruined it. If it was Michaela, we'd have more investment into her safety, because obviously the whole point is that the character, she gets captured, doesn't she?
Mm.
So if it was Michaela getting captured, we'd have more of a reaction. That's what I think.
I feel like
That was it.
obviously would have the plot would have probably changed drastically, because obviously Michaela's always built as this sort of essentially petrol head, is it what you usually refer to as people involved with cars and whatnot.
Yeah.
Obviously, it would be a bit weird her being in the situation. Obviously, what this character's in, because obviously she's quite high in this company essentially. So it'd be a bit weird. Obviously, that whole aspect of that would probably have to change slightly. But other than that, obviously, I do see what you're saying. It does, as I said, the bit at the end with the rings, when obviously it's not marriage, but it's like a hint at what could come. It doesn't feel as hard hitting as it would have been with them two, for the fact they've been together since the first invasion. So
yeah, and also this is the last time we'll ever see Sam Witwicky, even though the real actor is a bit of a dick in real life, but the character himself was kind of staple to the Transformers.
Yeah, I think he dies off screen. But it's written into it that he just dies off screen. Like the whole family.
That's the ending of it. It's kind of a shit ending for him. There's not.
Yeah.
This isn't more of the movie's fault. It's the next movie's fault, because there's it's just gone. But it still impacts this film.
Obviously, by that point, it's when stuff started happening in real life.
But yeah.
So obviously, he had no choice in not bringing him back. Pretty much.
Yeah.
I do like some of the new characters that they bring in. Obviously, some of the other ones, like John Malkovich's character. I thought he's quite funny. Just for the fact that he's got loads of pictures of himself in fighting positions randomly across his office. But now it's a reason. And then when he gives him just a box bumblebee, that was quite humorous. I do like his character. And obviously Alex's favourite character, Wang. Jerry Wang, who's only in it very shortly. And obviously he's played by Kent Young, who I believe, if I remember correctly, was in Step Brothers we did last year.
Yes.
He was one of the ones trying to hire him, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was also in Endgame. He was the
he was the security guard in Endgame. But yeah, obviously he's only in a very short while, but he brings that sort of humour that he brought to the Hangover movies. The fact that he's just being a real creep and staring at Sam from a distance, like standing behind a woman as she's trying to use her fucking printer, and he's like, "I'm next." It's really super creepy. And then he corners him in the toilet, comes walking out, unbuckling his trousers back up, like, "What are you looking at?" And on top of that, he's got two frigging pistols somewhere on his person. So when he gets attacked, he just pulls them out and goes full crazy on him, and just tries to shoot a Decepticon. Just doesn't. I liked his character. I thought he was quite funny. And of course, the other new character that's the best in this movie, fucking Dutch, Alan Tudyk, or whatever you pronounce his last name. Don't know pronunciations. He's just the best for the fact that he can go from this really calm, normal character to just a beast, the flick of a switch. That is just genius.
I agree.
Obviously, Sam's not the only one who returns from the other ones as well, because there is obviously Epps comes back, obviously as Tyrese Gibson, Lennox, Josh Dunhelm, what's his bloody Simmons.
Yeah,
I said his name before recording. I can't remember.
The military guys are
back
like,
for the
back.
last time until
Yeah.
last night. I believe it is. One of them comes back. It's obviously Josh Dunhelm comes back in that one, but he's the only one. So I think that's like the first like major return in the franchise after this movie is that his character in that one. That's it. Because literally every character that you've got used to in these 3 movies completely gone.
Yeah, which is why to us this is a trilogy, because the other 2 films, they're kind of just
more of a
they
duology.
get on what we've got.
Yeah, they follow on, but they don't do justice to what this trilogy did for the franchise, in my opinion. Because this is like the peak of Transformers for a good what? This film came out in 2011. The last good one came out was 2018, I believe it was. So it was a good 7 years difference before a good Transformers movie came out. I believe it was. Yeah, because 2017 was Last Night, 2014 was Age of Extinction. So yeah, it's a good 7 years before we got a decent, solid Transformers movie. If not, probably one of the better ones. So, obviously, that's why I sort of do like this, because it does go out on a high before they fuck it all up.
Yeah.
But obviously, it does obviously dwindle a bit inside you, because you gotta wait like 7 years before you get a good one. It does have that in your inside you. He's like, yeah, this is good, but I know what's coming next. So I'm kind of like upset that it's over. Maybe that's why Michael Bay made this film so long. He knew what was coming after this. He was like, I'm gonna fuck this franchise up, so I better make this as long as possible to make people like go, please don't end, please don't end, please don't end, please don't end.
Like I've only seen up to this film.
This one, yeah.
So like I think it would have been a good ending for this, just in this movie itself.
Yeah.
Like if the franchise stopped, and then if they carried on after, then that's fine. But like,
so they could have done spin-offs instead.
Yeah, like the Beast.
Yeah, Beast Wars.
Dinobots and all that.
Yeah.
I think that would have been better. But like, from what I've heard from you guys, it wasn't worth it.
It's mediocre to a mess at times.
Yeah, definitely. Like how we say it is like after this, basically the next film is bad, and the one after that is even worse. They become just so like obviously cash grabby and just boring, and
I don't mind the next one as much, but it's not great. It's just the one after that. I just
I can't. I just don't like the cast. Honestly, I think like Mark Wahlberg, he was probably one of the worst choices for it, because he doesn't seem to fit in.
He's in it for the action
that
side of it. That's why.
Yeah, like action, yeah, but like everything else, just it doesn't feel right. I mean, I think it's because we got so used to
Sam,
and even though like we all know the real actor, he's basically like a massive knobhead, but
just do it.
Like some kind of similar like character to Sam probably would have worked better.
I think that's why they changed it though, really, because the fact that there's no point replicating what you've already got. You may as well try and do something different, which is what they tried to do, which they failed to do.
Yeah.
I think it's not just that fact. I think it's the fact that it's the idea of it's the same thing over and over again. And by that point, after this one, because obviously this took it to the limit in terms of the action, the destruction. This took it to the point where it hasn't been yet. And by the point of the next one, it obviously, though there is aspects of it that are interesting and decent to watch, it's that fact and the fact that they stick to the really long run times, which you don't really necessarily need. Obviously, they do it in the next one a lot, mainly just to try and build up interest in these new characters for the fact that they're new. You need that length to try and like get adapted to these new surroundings. That's why that's that length. But it's I've always stated with franchises in general, I don't mind if like say like a trilogy, you get the same director to deal with a trilogy, but like spin-offs and later installments, I always say the director should step down, maybe stay in as producer, a bit like Spielberg with Indiana Jones. What he's doing, he's stepping back and he's just being producer on the next Indiana Jones, so he knows what mess he made with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, so he knows to step back and let someone else take over, someone with a different look on the franchise, and different perspective there. So I do feel like after this, Michael Bay should have just gone into the producer side of it, and they should have got someone else in to continue it on. Which is why I'm looking forward to Transformers 6, because though it's not continuing on fully. I think it's like set in the same universe, but it's not fully continuing on from last night, I believe. It's got a different director behind it. I think I swear it has 2 directors behind it or something like that. So I'm interested to see their vision on it, because they got, I think his name's Travis Knight. They got him for Bumblebee, and we got a different look on this universe with that. So I like that aspect. But I don't mind the director having his trilogy. I like to see them complete their journey with this trilogy. But after that, if they don't change it up enough, and it's just that same formula over and over again, that's when it starts to get a bit stale. Which is obviously why I was interested in seeing Snyder's DC one complete. So obviously he's seemed to be different each time in how they're done. So it's not the same cash grabbing hack and slash each time. Whereas Transformers after this becomes that same cash grab, hack and slash, same thing. Robots coming down, fight. Optimus having to be the leader, beat them all up. Human getting involved. It's the same sort of thing over and over again. Which that and the aspect of constant slow motion explosion and whatnot, it just gets a little stale. Which is why I'm sort of glad Turtles ducked out after the second one. Because obviously we saw that quite early, the same sort of... though they changed the aspects of the film, but they changed it completely, which was our complaints about it. If that carried on as long as this, I feel like it would have been the same aspect. It would have just gone down if they didn't switch it up. Which is why I think they did good with the first 2 of those, because they had 2 different directors. It wasn't the same director each time. It was 2 different people with 2 different visions, which is why it was a different type of movie each time. And obviously, if he kept to the same sort of stylistic of that one and just changed it up into his vision, obviously that would have been a lot better. Which is what I would have liked with the next ones after this, is if they kept sort of Bay's obviously vision of it. He sort of maybe do throw in some like aspects of slow motion every now and again, just to hint at what was the franchise's core look at it, but do change it up enough that it's not the same thing. So that there is that. Yeah,
there's also the fact that as well, like, one thing they got to consider as well is to make sure the new director to put in is a good director. Like, you know, like the Shrek films. The first 2 Shrek films were amazing. They are like absolute masterpieces. Like, this is not even me joking. I truly like the second one's amazing, and then you get the third one, which are new directors, and it's just an obvious cash grab. It just really obviously grotesque child humor. Whereas the first 2, there was a lot more like adult theme to it, and there was a lot more heart. Whereas the third one had no heart, and it was so obviously soulless cash grab. And that's why I think when they made the 4th one, they were like, okay, we'll change how we do this. Let's make this fully heart. And it worked. There's not much humour, but
it worked more.
The 4th one was a lot better because it got to the whole what made Shrek amazing. Like the first 2 films about identity, but like the first one, he feels not worthy of Fiona. Second one, he feels that he's not worthy of Far, Far Away. And the third one, he's going to be a dad. That's it. That's his goal. But then the 4th one's about him getting all of his life, and the whole they use comparisons between Shrek 3 and saying Shrek's life now is all kiddie friendly and obviously cash grabby, but he wants to go back to that gritty side that Shrek and 1 and 2 were. And I think you got to make sure you get the right directors.
Yeah, I think the best example for something like this is the Jurassic Park franchise. So obviously Spielberg had his hands on the first 2. The first one, masterpiece. Second one, not as good, and the third one, obviously not as good as well. Obviously, it goes downhill. But they benched the franchise, which is what they could have done after this. They could have benched it for a while to draw interest back into it. Because obviously then, with Jurassic World, Spielberg didn't direct. He got Colin Trevorrow to direct, and he was on set, though. He was there giving guidance of how you would do this. And though Jurassic World is basically the same film as Jurassic Park, but with actual people on the at the park, and obviously they've just altered a few things, adding like hybrid scenarios and whatnot. They've added these all aspects to it. To this like movie, it's basically the same, a bit like Force Awakens, same movie, but with new aspects added to it, which is why that was so successful. Which is why it grossed over $1 billion at the box office. And then obviously Fallen Kingdom came out, though it wasn't as critically reviewed as the first Jurassic World. In my opinion, it's the better of the two. It had obviously again a different director, but I don't think Spielberg was hands on with that one. But he still had hands on the franchise. So there's this aspect that by stepping back, they benched the franchise for a good, I don't know, 10 years maybe, something like that. So maybe it would come back this year if they did that. So basically, this was say this is the last one in 2011, and the next one would be now 2021. Then people will be like, okay, I remember Transformers growing up. Obviously, it was a mixed bag of a trilogy, but they were entertaining. Okay, let's go back and watch this now. Obviously, then that would draw people in more, which is why I think, obviously, after this, it's sort of... Though it obviously still earns the moolah, I think the next one did really quite well at the box office. It's the one after that didn't do well. And obviously, even then Bumblebee, because Bumblebee was riding on the badness of the previous installments, people weren't as interested in going to see an actual good entry in the franchise.
Yeah. That I think, like, if they hadn't have done the last two, like the next two movies,
at least
the break and then done Bumblebee.
Yeah, at least not done The Last Night. If they did Age of Extinction, and they could have ended. That's where they could have ended it really as well. Age of Extinction, when he blasts off at the end, that could have been a way of ending it, like him going home and then ending it for now. Then obviously doing say Bumblebee to go back in time and relook at stuff, and then come back into the franchise and do a better rendition of Last Night with a better setting, basically.
What I also think as well, what they should have done is they should have used someone from the previous 3 films as the main head character. Yeah, and not some random person we don't know. Like, for example, the main military guy.
Yeah, the one who comes back in Last Night, Josh Duhamel.
They could have used him, but like he's retired.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I like that.
That'd be cool. Or bring Megan Fox back.
I was gonna say, I'm surprised you didn't go Megan Fox first.
Well,
at the time, she was doing the Teenage Mutant Tales, wasn't she?
Yeah, that's why. But like, if like they didn't do the Turtles, and that was Michael Bay's apology to her.
Yeah, because the first Turtles came out the same year as the 4th Transformers, and the second Turtles came out the year before the 5th Transformers. So obviously, she probably wouldn't be able to do it. But obviously, I do agree with the whole aspect of they could have focused after this on him, because obviously, over the course of these 3 films, all we've got to show of him is his military side. There hasn't been that much about him shown on screen. He's just been shown as a soldier. That's it. And it would have been cool after that to show more about him. Maybe he's got, obviously show his family, because he's got a family. We've seen it in the first. People may forget, but in the first film, he had a family, he had a wife and a daughter, a newborn baby, and we haven't heard anything about him ever since that first movie.
Because we could still do this parental like storyline that they had in that film with him and his daughter, because his daughter would be grown up now, wouldn't she?
Yeah, so if the first one was, let's say, 2007-ish,
should be about
7. Basically,
maybe.
It depends how old the baby was in the first one.
Yeah, but that way you can make him more of like.
It basically be similar to Izzy in the last Transformers film. The similar aspect of the younger kid rather than obviously this rebellious sort of teenage young adult.
Yeah.
We should write movies for fucking these companies. We've got better ideas than what they do after this fucking movie.
Yeah. It would be so fun to explore his character, because it's still a connection that we have.
Yeah.
The first 3 films. Because, like, obviously the other connection we had was Optimus Prime in that film, and the other ones. But he was the main connection we had. But I think we need some more human side connections.
Yeah, because then like, an idea would have been, because obviously in the next one, obviously Mark Wahlberg he buys obviously what he thinks is just a normal truck, doesn't he?
Yeah.
It would have been interesting if he hid Prime, like he was hiding somewhere.
Yeah.
The fallout, and he was hiding Prime, and obviously eventually they find him and they come after him, and he has to team up with Prime again, like to fight back. Man, they missed out on such a fucking good idea.
Well, I thought, no, get Mark Wahlberg because he's a big money shot, and
I think it was the year before he worked with Wahlberg on that Pain and Gain with The Rock and Anthony Mackie. He worked on him in that True Story film, I think it was. So obviously that's probably why he chose Wahlberg, because he'd worked with him.
Mm.
You always find that with directors, they usually end up working with very similar people. Like I stated when I was saying that this like trilogy of good Mark Wahlberg films, that was the same director, and even the 2 other films he did after that, which weren't fully true story based, it was the same director. Wahlberg basically works with this exact same director for basically most of his films he does. So that's obviously why probably Michael Bay went with Wahlberg after this. He was like, okay, I'll work with him. I know him. He's obviously we work well together. I'll get him to do it. Obviously, some aspects of him in that film are good, but it's just obviously other aspects aren't.
Yeah,
It's like hit and miss.
Yeah, they went for more like this is like more marketable using Mark Wahlberg, whereas he's not other guy like the Mitch guy. He probably won't be as marketable, but story wise would have worked so much better.
Good
But
actor.
yeah,
He is.
I just about the next film, this film we're on about. Yeah,
That actor's got screwed up completely. Recently, his
Yeah.
TV show got cancelled on Netflix, and now this.
God, he could have had it so much better.
Yeah. Anyway, we need to get back to this film. We're completely
Yeah.
off topic.
This
Just dissecting and making our own franchise. Oh,
I was
For
going
the
to say,
next
you must have
film.
spoiled some of the films in the future for me.
We're literally talking about the next film.
Well, we haven't like spoiled too much for it, to be fair. We're just like pointing out the characters and whatnot.
Character flaws and
Yeah, we haven't really spoiled anything. Don't worry, Alex. There's 2 hours and 40 minutes to the next film that we could spoil for you, and there's 2 hours and I think 20 or 30 of the last film we can spoil for you right now if you want. Save you the hassle. But yeah, anyway, one thing I do like with this movie, though, back to this one, is it's the first time as well we've actually seen like the human and Decepticons union. Like they had the hybrid in the last one. Obviously that wasn't a human. It was just like they designed this Decepticon with like a human skin. But it's the first time obviously an actual human has willingly worked with Decepticons to try and be this sort of big dog. Obviously it doesn't, but I like that aspect of this movie as well, because it's the first time we've actually been able to see something like that.
I agree, because the whole point is like he's basically the opposite to Sam.
Yeah.
Sam's been aligned with like the Autobots for such a long time, and he's been aligned with the Decepticons for such a long time. It's just they've hid their motives, where he's been like out saving the world. And I do like the whole using him, like he's just because it starts off like he's like the character he's jealous of, but at the end he's still better because he aligned himself with the Autobots. He didn't succumb to like fear and greed like he did. I like that like addition.
Obviously, it's the first time as well we've witnessed a big betrayal. Obviously, Sentinel starts. They bring him back. He's an Autobot, and then he just betrays and blows Ironhide away. Rest in peace, Ironhide. You were my favourite. That's probably why this franchise goes down for me afterwards. My favourite boy's gone, and they bring in my other favourite boy. He doesn't speak, which is upsetting. But obviously that's another first thing we got to see, because obviously the first 2 films. The first film was obviously Megatron as the main bad guy. The second one was obviously the Fallen, who was obviously above Megatron and all his Decepticons. Whereas this one, it's Sentinel who's the top dog, who is an Autobot, but now he's Decepticon because he wants his world back. He knew they were going to lose, so he betrayed the cause to save his own world.
I like as well, like basically he's like, this whole concept of an Autobot actually being a Decepticon is basically foreshadowed in the second film with obviously Wheeler
and Jetfire.
Jetfire being Decepticons who are actually Autobots now. And that whole idea they can change allegiance and not just set to you have to be a Decepticon, you have to be an Autobot. It's quite cool.
I don't think though that he's obviously being a Decepticon. I think he's still being an Autobot. He's just using them as his own weapon.
I mean, he's not a Decepticon, but he's aligned with them. Like, you can change allegiance. Like it's not like he's not set in like stone. You
it's not chiseled into his arm like a tattoo.
No, it's more of just a patch.
Yeah, it just sticks a sticky note over the top of it, a Decepticon symbol on it. It blows away. Oh shit!
You get a sharp pain, draws one on.
But what's the other thing I wanted to That bit as well. As I said to you, it's just quite a funny foreshadow, which you said. Obviously, you used the word. The bit at the start when Wheelie and Brains, the obviously new little guy, another duo partnership of comedy.
Yeah, they're great.
The bit when they're watching TV, Brains watching Star Trek, and Wheelie comes in and goes, "Oh, it's when Spock goes crazy." I've seen this one like a load of times. I said to you, that's ironic for the fact that Sentinel Prime was voiced by the late Leonard Nimoy, and he basically goes from a good guy, go crazy, to become a bad guy. And obviously, just like that Star Trek episode where Spock is a good guy, goes crazy, and sort of acts like a bad guy. I like that foreshadowing. There's a really cool bit of foreshadowing there.
Like, it's one of those ones where it's meta foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Where you've got to know basically
The actors.
that episode of Star Trek and the actors that they do and their voices to know that that's what's happening. And it's one of those ones where you only realise it after like your second or third watch, and it's quite useful.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever spotted it before, really.
Yeah,
I've
only
never
just now
Yeah.
because you're actually analysing it.
Yeah.
And I like those foreshadows, the ones where like you don't realise it's happening. Only when like you watch it again and again, like, oh my god, that had happened there the entire time. I love it.
Agreed. I've spotted many in the past year that I've gone, oh shit, yeah, I didn't notice that. That's cool. That's really. I'm gonna put that down in a little note here just in case.
Yeah.
I also like the plot point of them the humans, even though it's the most stupidest thing you could ever do. Because the exiling of the Autobots. Because though it's obvious the Decepticon's going to betray you, and you know, at the end of the day, if the Autobots weren't there, you'd be all dead. I like the idea of them going, the fear getting into them going, okay, you've got to go now, you've got to get out of here, or else our world's dead, even though it's going to die anyway. You know, it's like a stupid like human decision, but I like that sort of plot line of humans just caving into this fear.
Yeah, obviously the whole point is this is basically what's happening with the bad human guy who lines the Decepticons.
Yeah.
Basically, what his whole family, they succumbed to fear of the Decepticons by they had to try and be loyal to them. And but the whole point is, these humans, they see the Autobots as ones bringing Decepticons, that they're the reason for this war, when really they're going to come here anyways.
Yeah, basically.
The whole plot point is they were going to use Earth anyways. It's only because that shit got destroyed, that he crash landed, that it never happened. But the fact that we've got the Autobots here now, saving, we want them by your side and not like flying away while you still get from the Decepticon. I think the best way to explain it is Simmons. He literally says like it's a no-brainer. Why like Decepticons? Yeah, and it's their own fight, but it's one of those ones where you haven't got to pick a side because you know you're going to go with the ones that aren't trying to spank you.
Yeah, basically. So, that's what I like, obviously, because they keep that sort of idea in the next one, don't they? With the whole hunting Autobots, they keep that plot point in there, sort of, which is one of the things I do like with that one. They kept that sort of idea going, which is one thing I liked. But obviously, there's a lot of issues that fuck it completely. The obviously thing we brought up as well, it's obviously the start of the film, we have the whole Apollo, the origins for the reason of them wanting to go to the moon in the first place. It's not just because they wanted to like just go one small step for man, that's one giant leap for mankind. It's obviously
holy shit, giant robot.
Obviously, the whole idea is the fact that they intercepted the signal of the ship about to crash. So they went, okay, Armstrong, Aldrich, and I can't remember basically the space guys who went up in the ones who like, two of them actually do appear in this. They obviously went. These CGI JFK was like, okay, let's go back to the moon. Let's go to the moon, shall we? Let's start a mission. It took that long that he became a fucking what's his name? What's the other president? That was in it.
Nixon.
Yeah, Nixon. Richard Nixon. That's it. That's just all I can think of is the Futurama version of him. But yeah, obviously they obviously get the astronauts and they're like, okay, we're going to the moon. It's a secret mission. You're going up there. At first, you'll be on camera. Then the cameras are cut, and we'll be in your ears, telling you everything that's going on. And obviously, they go up. They cut the feed. They're like, oh, okay. Well, our signal to the spaceship. Just give us a few moments. And obviously, they did the whole ship thing, and obviously they find the destroyed Autobots and whatnot, and they're like, Yeah, we've got no live signals up here. I don't know what I'm doing that voice for. Like, we got no obviously live signals here. It's okay. But there's a giant ass ship up here. Yeah. Okay. And obviously it was all then covered up, whatnot. Sector 7 came around. But I like that merging of the reasoning why Apollo even happened. It's because of the Autobots crashing on the moon. I like that. That was really nice. Nice little addition.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, I always like when films and shows do that, like when they put their own logic into a real world event, like how they put like the whole reason for what is it, Agatha Christie going missing in Doctor Who. It was because of the Vespica and the Wasp, the big Wasp guy, and
I thought it was that episode. I was like,
yeah,
wait, is that the one with the wasps?
that is genius. Like the fact that happened, and that, like even in that show, fucking like Donna inspires her to write about Miss Marple. So I love it because
Yeah,
the whole point is it's real world events, but it's for their own spin. Like
yeah,
that could have been how it happened. Like how much imagination go wild. Because you can think of other like events. You can think, oh, maybe the Transformers had a hand in that, and you can put your own little way in how that happened.
yeah. Which is seen in the last night with the whole fact the Nazi Germany, they got involved. The Transformers did and helped obviously fight back against the Nazis. Like that whole aspect, I do like those sort of little subtle things. It's like a really nice little stamp.
Mm.
Thumbs up from me. I like those sort of things.
Yeah, or it's like in Defenders when they talked about like certain like natural disasters, and it's like the hand was behind this,
That's like a really cool aspect.
and they use like those kind of things to show how extreme the situation is right now, and it always adds more like depth to like the whole situation, what's going to happen, and
Yeah,
that could happen.
exactly. I think one of the cool things of this film as well is obviously the ending of the film. Obviously, where Optimus is having to fight Sentinel after everything's going clusterfuck and whatnot. Everything's being destroyed. Everyone's getting involved. It's literally Chicago's being wiped out by a giant worm and giant Leviathan Tatari ships. A year before Avengers happened, I might add. And
Oh my god, we didn't stole them.
obviously, everything's getting destroyed, whatnot. Optimus have to beast mode for everything. Everyone's getting involved. The brainy guy gets destroyed. Bumblebee's all sags. You think he's gonna get executed? I think that would have been.
Yeah.
That obviously would have been like a bad thing to do for the fact that Bumblebee's like one of the selling points of the film. I think it would have been really interesting if they did kill him at that point. I'd been like,
yeah,
they went far enough to kill Ironhide, my boy. That it would have been really intriguing to how they would have worked. Like, Bumblebee getting shot, like Prime's reaction. I think it would have been cool if he come down and went full rage and like just worked. That would have been really interesting to have seen. I'm glad it didn't happen because Bumblebee's like the selling point is what makes the rest of this franchise actually watchable. But I mean, I wanted to see like another universe where it happened.
it'd be cool though if he did die and did the next film. Like they brought him back, but he's under the control of Megatron.
Galvatron, yeah.
What will be Galvatron? But I'm gonna call him Megatron because he's not at that film yet. But for now, like, but he's under that control. Like, and it would be more impactful because, like, you got this main character, and he's now just been ruined because, like, he's now evil, and you'd be more impactful.
Yeah, they could also change his like design slightly. Like kept the same sort of idea to like, the color scheme and everything, but I mean design wise, they could change him slightly to fuck with
more like
Optimus.
Evil.
Yeah, that would. Oh yeah.
And they could always like do a thing where he Optimus manages to break his control.
Yeah,
a bit like get a Bumblebee back.
A bit like in the. Oh, that would have worked so well because obviously in the last one, the last film, obviously the same thing happens with Prime. Obviously, and that whole snapping has to be from Bumblebee's perspective. It would have made sense then because he helped him. So they fucking missed out.
Bumblebee would have to live with the fact that he probably killed a few people. That as well.
That would have been.
You mean what you can do?
Man, that would have been cool. But anyway,
we should do the job.
Yeah, we should hire us. We know what we're doing. But yeah, I like with the bit. What I'm saying is obviously everything over. Obviously, Prime's getting his ass handed to him by Sentinel. His arms, as you say, literally being ripped off his shoulder. Which obviously we've seen Prime die once, but I mean he's now armless. He's like
he was disarmed.
He's pretty much. He looks like he's gonna die because Sentinel's about to stab him. Then Megatron has been like. That's what I think. Obviously, with the love interest in this one. Obviously, the good thing she does is she manipulates Megatron. She just tricks him.
She called him his bitch.
Yeah, she's like, oh, you're just Sentinel's bitch now. And obviously he comes in. I like to say when he's running and he starts shooting. And obviously he destroys Sentinel. And then he's like, okay, just me and you, Prime. And Prime, one arm, just beats the ever living crap out of Megatron, destroys him, and finishes off Sentinel. I like that aspect of Megatron just getting his ass kicked after saving Prime. And Prime just being able to do this with only one hand. That just shows how good Prime really is. Obviously, he wouldn't have. It only went into motion because of Megatron's action. The Megatron just fucked himself basically because he just had the whole idea of he wants to be king. The Earth is his, not Sentinel's. Sentinel is more like his bitch than anything. Like Starscream was, who's now dead as well.
Yeah.
Is Prime and Bumblebee the only two that come back after this? I know Ratchet comes back for a short scene in the next one, but isn't this like the only two that actually come back?
I've not seen it.
So I think like one or two come back like, in very short scenes, but I mean in terms of main characters, I think those are the only two left standing now, aren't they?
Especially from the original, like from the original first 3 films, really, they're the only ones that
go all the way.
Like, yeah, I know of the big guy from this one is also the next one, but I don't think he's all the way like the rest. He's pretty much just Optimus.
I think it's just the voice actor with that one. I don't think it's the same Transformer. I think it's just the voice actor. I think it's, I don't.
Oh yes, he's the same voice actor, but he's a different accent. Remember, like this one's more Cockney, whereas that one is more like a redneck. I remember now, like a big American bruiser.
Yeah, I think
it's Vilgax's voice. I think not the actual Vilgax, but I mean, it's Bill Gax in Omniverse.
Yeah,
the human that looks exactly like Vilgax. I think it's the same kind of voice they use for that.
I think it's just a different, obviously, design and whatnot. Obviously, it's a different character entirely.
Basically, yeah. But it's so basically on Optimus and Bumblebee.
The last two standing.
That bring back, and kind of also ruins it because like they're the only ones from the rest of those 3 films. So that's even more connections we had to the original.
I say that to be fair though, by now they've eradicated most of the OG cast. Then as this movie ends, the only 3 left standing from the first film are Bumblebee, Optimus, and Ratchet. And Ratchet only comes back for a brief scene at the start of the next movie, which I'm not going to spoil too much for Alex there. I want to keep the big spoilers for that film quiet.
I remember that.
But yeah, these are I got cramp in my leg. These are the only ones left standing, which is, I say, it's kind of a shame, but obviously it shows how much have died since.
Yeah, it's like I guess it does helps like give off that whole war vibe of the fact like they are like the whole point is they are always losing the war. They have major victories, but they always the ones that suffer the
like with the first one, then was victorious at the end, but at the end of the day they lost Jazz. This one, though, at the end of the day they were victorious. They lost Ironhide and the brainy one.
And it's like, the whole point is like that they're always outnumbered.
Yeah, no matter how much they win, they always lose somehow. Yeah.
Like Thunderbird say, you can't save everybody.
Yeah, I like this one. I think with this one as well, it has some better cinematography in terms of action. Because I had issues with the sort of angling of the camera in the first 2, but I think this one has better angling. Though there is some obviously points where it's obviously focused on the humans during the fights. I think overall it has a lot more on screen for the action, which is a lot better than what the previous 2 movies offered, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like Another thing that I'd give the film props is the fact that they didn't shy away from actually focusing on the humans.
Yeah,
Like, there's a lot of focus on the humans.
I think that's
Probably
why it
more
was
focus
longer.
than more focused than the actual Autobots.
Yeah, I think that's why it was a bit longer, to be fair, because they put a lot of focus into trying to round out Sam's character, who's now,
Yeah.
a man. We started the
Basically,
franchise as a boy, and now he's a man.
watching him grow up, basically.
Yeah, that's what I like with this trilogy. That's why I highly rate this trilogy, because it does good development with him.
Mm. And it probably, like what we say, it would be even better if Michaela was there.
Yeah, because then it fully round out the act.
That's unfortunately back, like,
At least we still got the mum and dad
behind the
back.
scenes that we can't do. Yeah, at least they're back. They're still the best.
Yeah, and they're still funny.
Yeah, but they're not in it for that long, though, are
Yeah,
they?
yeah, but they're still
Yeah.
making an impact when they're in it. The dad sitting on the side of a friggin' steps while his son's trying to do a job interview while stuffing his face with food. And his wife's just like, come on. They're only briefly, they are still funny when they're in it. As I say, the more the focus on this film is mainly Sentinel and obviously Sam more than anything. And the human bad guy.
Yeah.
Those are the more centre focuses of this film. So
Imagine if the next film was more focused on them and them dealing with the loss of Sam.
there's a lot of versions the next
Yeah,
two could have gone, but
Yeah, because they have shown that when it comes to doing serious,
yeah,
they
they
can
can.
do serious, and they are quite good at it.
Like when Sam on 2 occasions in this movie thought he was going to lose Bumblebee, it went really
Yeah.
serious.
That would have been quite useful to do. So, because they have the comedy and they have the dramatic moments. Like, there are better ways they could have done it,
Yeah.
but that's for next week.
Yep. I think we've said a piece and then obviously gone off topic massively in how we're doing. I think we've got about 20 minutes on topic and 20 minutes off topic, so that's good enough for me. Okay, it's pick a favourite moment, shall we? I've got a choice of 3 here, so I'm gonna name drop the 2 that I was gonna choose, and then the one I did choose. So the one obviously was when Prime went destructive during that final battle when he's taking out multiple opponents. When he got his blades out, wiping them up. I like that because it reminded me of obviously when he died in the last film. He went full beast mode, destroying everything left, right, and centre. The other one obviously is when Megatron saves Prime because obviously that's impactful for the fact that obviously he could just let him die here, then take Sentinel on it, but he doesn't. He obviously saves Prime. Just then Prime could just duff him in, but I thought that was quite a cool scene. But the one I'm gonna give it to is. How Simmons puts it best, Dutch get back in the cage. When they're in the Russian bar with the guy from fucking Spider-Man, the Spider-Man trilogy, the guy Rent guy, and Dutch grabs that shotgun, punches that bartender in the face, and then pulls out 2 guns and starts aiming at everyone. And you got Simmons just yelling at him in German or whatnot, telling him to just put it back in the cage and whatnot. And he's like, "I'm so sorry. That's the old me. I'm sorry." I love that scene. I just love Dutch as a character. I'm gonna go with that scene.
I do like him. That is a good scene. For me, I'd go for just because the impact, like emotionally wise, was the where Bumblebee's about to get executed. I think the whole the fact that Sam's he wants to go save him and try and use that weird stick the brain guy had.
Yeah, the bombs. Yeah.
Yeah, but it wasn't working.
It broke. Yeah.
Obviously,
he's upset. He's getting frustrated because he wants to help Bumblebee. And that moment where he's looking at Bumblebee's eyes and
it says something like, doesn't it say something like it's been give him a good run or something like that.
Yeah, and it was so good. Like I said before, they killed off Einhide, so there's a possibility that they could have killed him off here.
Yeah.
And you actually are worried that he will die because, as I said, Bumblebee basically is the whole the main connection between all the films, and he's one of the best parts of it. And the fact that we could lose him there is very fucking tense, and I did like that bit. And the way they saved it as well, saved him from it, was quite cool. It wasn't more coincidentally. It was more
accidental.
Yeah, I liked it. I just liked that bit. Yeah. Now here we go. Ali talking about his favorite character and his moment between that, eh? The toilet scene.
I don't know.
I,
think
I gave you enough time before we started to think of this, Alex.
I know. I think it was the same as yours, Tom. The gun scene.
The bar scene.
Yeah. Yeah, but I like that. I like the uncouth,
The random switching from this, calm gentleman to this
Yeah.
brute. It's a good scene, that is.
Okay.
Time to rate the ending of this decent trilogy before we get onto the crap fest of the next ones. Okay, so just to sum it up, I think it's got some obviously better cinematography than the last two. CGI, though obviously the human side is a mess at times. The Autobot and Decepticon side, the robot basic side is spot on as usual. Apart from the weaker of the end credit scores, the score itself for the most of the parts of the movie is good and has a good beat to it. Action is probably the best it's been, especially due to the destruction level of this movie. A lot of the focus on the human side, as you stated, is a nice touch. So obviously, though it feels a bit too long, it adds that extra oomph to it because it obviously does a lot of focusing on Sam and the villain and whatnot. Einlein's death, though, it upsets me that he died. It was so impactful, like, Jesus, they just killed, like, one of the OGs off there. And not, like, subtly, he just, like, rusted away and, like, disintegrated. And I was like, that's quite brutal, that is. That was really upsetting. But it was a nice ending after that Mexican standoff scene. He pulled his ass to blow away these Decepticons and then he lost his life for it. It was really heartfelt. And just overall, I think there's a lot of emotional moments in this movie. Though obviously, you said the Megan Fox coming back, that would have been a lot even better. But I still think overall, it still is a solid end to this trilogy. So I'm just going to stick with what I've been given the last 2 weeks. I still think 8 out of 10 is where this trilogy is at for me. It's just after this, it just down like that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, for me, like, yeah, it does drag on, and that does impact it. But the visuals, the story, the characters, they also bump it up. Like if that deck date wasn't there, it'd be a 7. But because of that, it bumps it back up to an 8. So, like I said, I think these 3 films, they're consistent.
Yeah,
and if they kept up the same kind of consistency with quality and characters, it probably the next ones would have been like at least close to there. But that this is the last time.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, until Bumblebee, this is the last time Transformers was good.
See, I think the next one does do the cinematography and the visuals well. Yeah. It's just a lot of the other stuff is a mess in it.
The next one's the characters.
Yeah.
We'll get onto that more when we do that film.
Yeah. Go on, Alex.
Yeah. Consistent.
My rating for the film would be. I didn't hear the rating, so I can't judge off them.
Same as last week. We gave the same as last week. And the week before.
I'd say 7.
7.
8, 9.
Yeah, like he had.
Don't start him again. You start him again. That's it. Game over.
Had a lot of impactful moments, but dropping Megan Fox.
Megan Fox.
I know there was a reason for it, but it just makes it a bit.
That's a good one, Alex. I like that. I like that.
Is that where Michael Bay gave her a P45 for a fax machine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that gives Transformers Dark of the Moon a gave overall rating of 7.7. The lowest of the 3 we give overall so far. But it's going to get even lower soon.
Yep.
Okay, so quickly on to the Chattercave MVP award. So this week's Chattercave MVP goes to Dutch, played by Adam Tudyk. I don't know how he pronounced his last name. It's a weird spelled last name. Just because he's such a good character.
He's the most time.
Yeah, he probably only had what, maybe like 20, 25 minutes at most, like screen time. That just shows how good of a character he is. And the fact he comes into it, does this beast mode thing, and then still has these funny moments when he's on the computer. He's like, "Oh, it'll be difficult for anyone else. I'm in."
Except me.
I love how he says it though. And he's like, "I'm in."
Like,
Instantly, he's like, "Oh, okay." I just love that
Like-
character.
so difficult. Except for me. I'm in.
Great character.
Yes, good.
And the runner-up award this week goes to one that Alex picked because he's his favourite character, which is Jerry Wang, played by Ken Jeong, who again he's putting it less maybe than Dutch maybe. He dies very quickly, but I mean he goes out with a bang. The scene when he just pulls out 2 pistols is so funny. The scene in the toilet itself was funny. All of it with him was very humorous, and he went out with a bang and splat.
I think he helped to add that mystery of like what the
Yeah.
fuck is going on with him, because the whole like him being really creepy. Like you don't know if he's a bad guy, if he's like a crazy guy trying to get help, or if he's just like a random weird character.
Yeah,
You don't know.
a mystery, very mysterious character who has notes shoved down his pants. Okay,
Yeah.
Hayden,
Which is white across the face.
yeah,
That's the cock.
yeah. Hayden, you thought you Michael Bay award time?
Yes, it's like there was 2 options we could have gone for. Because unlike the first 2 films, one thing I would give this film for, like even though there was a bit at the start, mostly there wasn't that much over sexualizing. There was a bit, like there's a bit at the start with a new character,
the ass shot.
but apart from that, there wasn't really that much. There was no slow motion boob jiggling. There was no like very obvious slow motion long cameras on Megan Fox's ass because she's not here to do that anymore. So it's a lot less obviously Michael Bay simping over the main female character. So it mostly goes towards the slow motion scenes, and I think what it could have been was the bridge scene, because that was quite like a lot, very much slow motion. There's the bad green screen, Sam falling. That would be up there, but I think it has to go to was it a plane scene? I can't remember the plane or not.
Oh, when they're falling at the plane. When I went, Michael Bay,
Yeah,
slow motion.
that is probably one of the most.
Yeah,
That's one of the most slow motion scenes I've ever had in there.
100%
And-
agree with it.
Definitely. Another contender as well was I think it was near the start when there was killing the Decepticons, and there's this slow motion blood like coming up.
Oh, when
oil.
Ironhide shot him. He shot the one
Yes.
Mexican standoff, and
That's
the
also another contender as well, because that is most slow motion. But I
Yeah.
do think
the
the plane scene worked the most, because that was like the slowest it's ever been
Yeah.
and the longest it's ever been on the screen, and it was just that much Michael Bay.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so my question of the day this week is kind of a bit of a stupid question, but would you like Megan Fox back to round out this trilogy?
Yes.
Yes.
I would love it.
I couldn't think.
said,
I couldn't think of a question. I thought, yeah, it's just the most obvious one you're gonna get an answer for.
Yes, like she would have put perfect in this film, but if not, she could have been used at later films
Yeah,
as the main character, not Mark Wahlberg. But that's Hollywood.
that is
you
Hollywood
get
for you,
to
Hayden.
lose some. You get some and you lose
Okay, then, that's it for Chat Cave podcast this week. Join me and Hayden next week because Alex has work, so he's doing the rating part by himself and watching the movie by himself. Me and Hayden get to chill together and watch it and then record together. But don't worry, Alex is there for the ratings, but the talking part is just me and Hayden. But either way, next week we're going to be covering Transformers Age of Extinction, where the franchise dwindles. It had its highs, and now it's time for its lows. Well, sorry, mediocre, then the lows.
It's decline. It's basically the next film is the decline.
Yeah, it's the signal of it should stop here.
Yeah.
Okay. I've been your host, Drinking Thomas Hughes.
I've been Geeky Bear, aka Alex.
Checking
And
out.
I've been Megan Fox's biggest supporter.
You'd probably like that film when she's fighting a lion.
Yeah.
Well, lioness. Sorry, lioness. Yeah, specific.
The pronouns.
Okay, this has been Chat OK podcast, and this has also been the end of the actual really good Transformers movies for a good few weeks. So fuck you, Michael Bay, for ruining our childhood. Good night.
Thank you for the money.
Bye.
What money?